The alarm screamed through every corridor of Calvera Station. Director Hansal stood in the command center, watching the tactical display with a calm face that hid his fear. 12 red dots surrounded the station. 12 warships. The Kravik had come. "Director, they're charging weapons," said the sensor operator, her voice shaking. Hansal nodded slowly. He had known this day might come. The Varani people were scientists and healers, not warriors. Their station floated in the darkness of space, orbiting a dying red star far from help. They had no weapons. No shields strong enough to matter. Nothing but their research and their hope that the universe was kinder than it actually was. "How long until they fire?" Hansal asked. 2 minutes, sir." 2 minutes. Hansal thought of the 847 people on this station, researchers, engineers, families, children, who played in the gardens on Deck 7, all of them looking to him for answers he didn't have. The communication panel crackled to life. A harsh voice filled the command center, speaking in broken Varani. "Station, you surrender now. Give us your medical technology. We take it. You live, maybe—" Hansal recognized their casual cruelty in that voice. The Kravik Dominion had been expanding through this sector for months. They took what they wanted. They destroyed what they couldn't use. Mercy was not a word they understood, and if we refuse? Hansal asked, though he already knew the answer, laughter, cold and sharp. "Then you die. Simple choice?" The channel went dead dot in the medical bay 3 decks below. Dr. Yuna worked frantically. She was younger than Hansal, with quick hands and a mind that never stopped solving problems. Right now, the problem was impossible. How do you evacuate 800 people when there's nowhere to go? "Get the children to the core section," she ordered her staff. "Seal the emergency bulkheads. Move everyone who can't walk on stretchers." "Doctor, the escape pods," one of her nurses started. "Won't work," Yuna cut her off. "The Kravik will shoot them down. They don't want witnesses. Our only chance is to get everyone to the reinforced sections and pray." Pray. Yuna wasn't even sure what she was praying to anymore. The old gods of her people seemed very far away. A young technician named Daehyun ran into the medical bay, nearly tripping over his own feet. Fresh out of the academy, barely 20 cycles old. His face was pale, but his eyes were determined. "Dr. Yuna, I can boost the shields. Just a little. Maybe buy us some time." "How much time?" Yuna asked, helping an elderly patient toward the core section. 10 minutes. "Maybe 15 if I bypass the safeties?" "Do it," Yuna said. "Every second counts." Daehyun nodded and ran back toward the engineering section. His hands shook as he worked the controls, rerouting power from life support, from the gardens, from everything that wasn't immediately essential. The numbers on his screen climbed. Not much, not nearly enough. But something. Back in the command center, Hansal made a decision. He opened a secure channel and began recording a message. A final message. A distress call that would shoot out into the darkness at faster than light speed, reaching out to anyone who might hear. "This is Director Hansal of Calvera Station. We are under attack by Kravik forces. 847 civilians. No military capabilities. If anyone receives this message, we ask for help. We ask for ... mercy." He paused. His voice nearly broke. Then he added, "Please, don't let them be forgotten." He transmitted the message in every direction on every frequency. It would reach the nearest Varani military base in 3 weeks. 3 weeks too late? It would scatter across the stars, a ghost crying into the void. The Kravik flagship moved closer. Its weapons glowed with building energy. On the tactical display, Hansal could see the targeting locks. They weren't aiming for the station's power core or life support. They were aiming for the habitation rings. Maximum casualties. A message to anyone else who thought about resisting. 30 seconds, the sensor operator whispered. The station's lights flickered as Daehyun's emergency power routing kicked in. The shields strengthened. Not enough to matter, but enough to show defiance. Yuna reached the core section with the last group of children. She sealed the door and held a little girl who was crying for her mother. It's okay, Yuna lied, stroking the child's hair. Everything will be okay. 20 seconds. Hansal watched the display. He thought about his life, about his people's history. The Varani had never been warriors. They had built their civilization on knowledge and healing. They had reached out to the stars with open hands, seeking friends. And now those open hands had nothing to hold but empty air. 10 seconds. He closed his eyes. Then every alarm in the command center started screaming at once. Different alarms. Not warnings of attack, but something else. Something impossible. Director! The sensor operator shouted. Something's appearing. A massive energy signature. I've never seen readings like this. Hansal's eyes snapped open. On the tactical display, a new contact was materializing. Not jumping from faster than light travel. Not arriving through any known method. Simply tearing into reality itself, ripping through space like a knife through cloth. The signature was huge. It was powerful. And it was completely unknown. The Kravik warships suddenly forgot about Talvera Station. All 12 ships turned their sensors toward the new arrival. Weapons retargeted. Shields strengthened. The energy signature resolved into a shape. A warship. Sleek and dark and radiating power that made the Kravik vessels look like toys. Strange symbols marked its hull. Symbols no one in the galaxy had ever seen before. A communication came through. The voice was calm, speaking perfect Varani with a strange accent. Talvera Station, this is the warship Indomitable. We received your distress call. Hold your position. Help has arrived. Hansal stared at the display. His mouth opened, but no words came out. Daehyun, in engineering, was checking the readings 3 times. Convinced his instruments were broken, Yuna, holding the crying child, looked up at the ceiling as if she could see through the metal to the stars. Beyond, the Kravik warlord's voice came over the open channel, full of contempt. Unknown vessel. You face the Kravik Dominion. 1 ship, 12 of ours. Leave now or be destroyed. The response from the Indomitable was cold and hard. You have 30 seconds to withdraw. This is your only warning. Silence. Then the Kravik warlord laughed. The Kravik warlord stopped laughing when the first shot hit his shields. It happened so fast that most sensors barely registered it. One moment the Indomitable was floating in space, dark and silent. The next moment, a stream of metal rods shot from its hull at speeds that bent physics. The rods hit the nearest Kravik destroyer before its crew could even react. The destroyer's shields lit up like a dying sun. Then they failed. The rods punched through the armor like it was paper. Explosions bloomed along the ship's spine. Its reactor went critical. 3 seconds after the Indomitable fired, the Kravik destroyer was debris. In Talvera Station's command center, Hansal gripped the edge of his console. His people were scientists. They understood physics. They knew what kind of energy it took to accelerate metal to those speeds. It should have been impossible. What are they? Someone whispered. The tactical display updated. The Indomitable was moving now, not with conventional thrusters, but with something else. It slid through space like a shark through water, graceful and deadly. Small objects detached from its hull. Dozens of them, hundreds. Drones, the sensor operator said, her voice full of awe. Autonomous weapons. They're beautiful. Beautiful and terrible. The drones spread out in a perfect formation, creating a web of death between the Indomitable and the Kravik fleet. Each one was small, barely the size of a person, but they moved with intelligence and purpose. The Kravik warlord, whose name was Thexien, finally understood he had made a mistake. All ships, attack formation Delta. Concentrate fire on the unknown vessel. Destroy it now. 11 Kravik warships opened fire together. Plasma torpedoes. Kinetic missiles. Energy beams. The combined firepower could have destroyed a small moon. It all converged on the Indomitable. The drones moved. They weren't just defensive weapons. They were tiny thinking machines, each one calculating trajectories and making decisions faster than any organic mind. The incoming missiles met the drones and exploded in brilliant flashes. The plasma torpedoes were intercepted. The energy beams hit nothing but empty space as the Indomitable shifted position with impossible precision inside the human warship. Captain Li Jiwoo sat in his command chair, watching the battle displays with calm eyes. He was 50 cycles old, with gray in his hair and scars on his hands. He had fought in 3 wars before leaving Earth. He knew what he was doing. Status, he said quietly. Shields at 90%. All weapons operational. Drones performing within parameters, his tactical officer reported. Sir, they're not very good at this. Jiwoo allowed himself a small smile. They're used to fighting people who can't fight back. Helm, bring us about. Weapons, prepare the main cannon. Yes, sir. The Indomitable rotated, its hull catching the light of the distant red sun. Along its spine, a weapon began to charge. Energy readings climbed higher and higher, reaching levels that made the Varani sensors scream warnings. Daehyun, still in engineering, had patched the Indomitable's communication channel directly into the station's systems. He could hear the human crew talking. Their voices were calm, professional, speaking a language he didn't understand but with a tone he recognized. These were warriors, trained, disciplined, deadly. This is Captain Jiwoo, came the translation through the station's computer. All stations, prepare for main weapon discharge. 3, 2, 1, fire. The main cannon fired. It didn't shoot energy or missiles. It shot something else. Something the Varani had only theorized about in their most advanced physics papers. Microscopic black holes, contained in magnetic fields, directed and controlled. The stream of impossibly dense gravity hit the Kravik flagship dead center. The effect was instant and horrible. The flagship's shields didn't just fail. They were pulled inward, crushed by gravitational forces. The ship's armor buckled and tore. Internal bulkheads collapsed. Everything was drawn toward the black holes. Compressed and destroyed, Warlord Dexian had time for one final transmission. A scream of rage and disbelief that cut off suddenly as his ship came. Apart. Dr. Yuna watched the screens in the medical bay with wide eyes. The children had stopped crying. Everyone was silent, watching the impossible battle. One of her nurses whispered a prayer in the old language. The remaining Kravik ships scattered, their formation breaking. They had never faced an enemy like this. They were used to being the strongest, the most feared. Now they were prey. They're running, Hansal said, his voice barely a whisper. 7 Kravik warships turned and jumped to faster than light speed, abandoning their dead. They didn't even try to recover escape pods or survivors. They just ran. The Indomitable didn't pursue. Its weapons powered down. The drones began returning to their launch bays in orderly streams. Within minutes, the human warship was once again still and silent, floating in space as if nothing had happened. G-Wu opened a channel to Talvera Station. His voice was gentle now, not the cold warrior's tone from before. Talvera Station, this is Captain Li Jiwoo of the human warship Indomitable. The immediate threat has been neutralized. We're sending over medical teams and repair equipment. Is anyone injured? Hansal tried to speak, but his voice caught. He cleared his throat and tried again. Captain Jiwoo, this is Director Hansal. We have wounded. Many wounded. And we don't understand. What are humans? How did you find us? We'll explain everything, Director. First, let us help. May we dock with your station? Hansal looked around the command center. His crew looked back at him with shell-shocked faces. They had been minutes from death. Now they were saved by creatures they had never met, using technology they barely understood. Yes, Hansal said. Yes, you may dock. And Captain... Thank you. Thank you for hearing our call. It's what anyone should do, Jiwoo replied simply. In engineering. Daehyun sat down heavily, his legs suddenly too weak to hold him. He had rerouted power to buy them minutes. The humans had won the battle in less than 5. Yuna began organizing her medical teams, preparing to receive the human visitors. Her hands were steady now, her mind focused. There would be time for wonder later. Right now, there were people who needed help. A human shuttle detached from the Indomitable and began moving toward the station. It was smaller than a Kravik fighter, but moved with the same precise control as its mothership. It docked at the main airlock with barely a sound. Hansal walked to the docking bay, his senior staff behind him. Security teams stood ready, though he had ordered them to keep weapons lowered. These humans had just saved their lives. They would be greeted with respect. The airlock cycled. Green lights appeared. The door opened. Captain Li Jiwoo stepped through, followed by 6 other humans. They wore dark uniforms with strange symbols. Some carried weapons, but those weapons were pointed at the floor. One woman carried a medical kit marked with a red cross. G-Wu was tall, with dark eyes and a face that had seen too much war. But when he saw Hansal, he smiled and extended his hand in the human gesture of greeting. Director Hansal, I'm Captain Li Jiwoo. It's an honor to meet you. Hansal looked at the offered hand. In all the galaxy's history, this had never happened. 2 species meeting for the first time, not as enemies or rivals, but as saviors and saved. He reached out and took Jiwoo's hand. The honor is ours, Captain. You answered a call that we thought would never be heard. How can we ever repay you? Jiwoo's smile grew a little sad. You don't repay help, Director. You pass it forward. The humans worked fast. Within an hour, Lieutenant Sujin had set up a field hospital in the station's main medical bay. She was younger than Captain Jiwoo, with quick movements and gentle hands. She spoke decent Varani, learned from the ship's computer during the journey. This one first, Sujin said, pointing to a Varani engineer with burns across his chest. Dr. Yuna, your cellular regeneration technology is amazing. Can you show me how it works? Yuna blinked in surprise. The humans had weapons that could destroy ships with artificial black holes, yet their medical technology was simpler than hers. It didn't make sense. We focused on healing, Yuna explained, demonstrating the regeneration device. Our people have always been scientists and doctors, not warriors. Sujin nodded thoughtfully. We focused on survival. On Earth, we had to learn both. She watched carefully as Yuna worked, then began applying the technique to another patient. But I think we can learn from each other. In the command center, Hansal sat across from Captain Jiwoo. Between them was a simple meal, tea from the station's gardens and protein bars from the human ship. The contrast was almost funny. I need to understand, Hansal said. The galaxy has been explored for thousands of cycles. How have we never met humans before? How do you have such powerful technology? Jiwoo sipped the tea, nodding with appreciation. This is good. Thank you. He set down the cup. The answer is simple, Director. We were isolated. Earth sits in a region of space surrounded by a massive nebula anomaly. For thousands of years, we couldn't get through it. We didn't even know you existed, and now you do? We developed dimensional fold technology 5 cycles ago. It lets us bend space itself, slip through barriers that stop normal faster than light travel. We came through the nebula and found all of this. A galaxy full of life. It was the greatest discovery in human history. Hansal leaned forward. Your weapons, Captain. Those aren't the weapons of explorers. Gutwu's expression darkened. No, they're not. He was quiet for a moment, choosing his words. Director, humanity nearly destroyed itself. Many times. We fought wars with nuclear weapons that poisoned our planet. We built machines that turned against us. We created diseases that killed billions. The room seemed colder suddenly. We learned to build terrible weapons because we faced terrible threats. Many of those threats we made ourselves. By the time we reached the stars, we had learned one simple truth. Strength isn't about conquest. It's about protecting what matters. And you protect strangers? Hansal asked. You risk your lives for people you've never met? Wouldn't you? If you had the power, wouldn't you answer a call for help? Hansal thought about it. Thought about hearing another species crying into the void. Would the Varani have come if they could? He wanted to say yes, He hoped it was true. Down in engineering, Daehyun was having the time of his life. The human engineers had opened up one of their drones for him to examine. It was incredible. Every part fit perfectly, designed with a precision that made Varani technology look crude. How does it think so fast? He asked a human engineer named Tae-Min. Tae-Min grinned. Quantum processing? The computer exists in multiple states at once, calculating thousands of possibilities simultaneously. We had to invent it because our enemies were too fast for traditional thinking. Your enemies? Daehyun asked. On Earth, you mean? Yes, we fought each other for a long time before we learned to work together. Nearly killed ourselves doing it. Taemin's grin faded. That's why we're careful now. Why we only use these weapons to protect, never to conquer. Daehyun carefully examined the drone's power core. It was elegant, efficient, and completely beyond anything he understood. Can you teach us how to build things like this? Maybe, Taemin said. But ask yourself, do you want to? This drone is designed to kill. Every part of it exists for that purpose. Is that what you want your people to become? The question made Daehyun uncomfortable. He thought about the Kravik fleet, how easily the humans had destroyed them. Power like that came with a price. In the medical bay, Yuna was learning that price. One of the human marines had removed his helmet, and she saw the scars on his face. Burns from plasma. Marks from shrapnel. How many battles have you fought? She asked quietly, treating a Varani child nearby. The marine, whose name was Byung-ho, shrugged. 20? 30? I stopped counting. Most of them were before we left Earth. We had to fight to unite our world. The holdouts, the fanatics, the ones who wanted to keep the old ways of war and hate. It took 50 years. That's horrible. Yes, but the alternative was extinction. The Byung-ho watched her work with the child, his expression softening. That's why we came when we heard your call. We know what it's like to face the end, to be helpless. We swore we'd never let it happen to anyone else if we could prevent it. Suddenly, alarms rang through the station. Not the screaming panic from before, but warning chimes. Hansal's voice came over the speakers. All personnel, this is Director Hansal. Long-range sensors have detected a large Kravik fleet approaching. Over 40 warships. They will arrive in approximately 6 hours. In the command center, Jiwoo stood and set down his tea. His face became hard again, the warrior replacing the diplomat. They're coming back in force. Captain, you should leave, Hansal said urgently. Your ship is powerful, but 40 against 1? That's suicide. Please, you've done enough. Yu shook his head. We stay, Director. We hold the line. Why? You don't owe us this. You don't owe us your lives. Yes, we do, Wu said simply. Because someone asked for help. Because we can make a difference. Because that's what it means to be human. He activated his communication device. Indomitable, this is the captain. Battle stations. Prepare for fleet engagement. We're staying. The response came immediately. Understood, sir. We're ready. Hansal felt his throat tighten. You'll die. All of you. But there was no humor in it. Maybe, but we'll die standing between them and this station. We'll die making them pay for every meter of space. And maybe, just maybe, we'll buy enough time for help to arrive. The nearest Varani fleet is 3 weeks away. Then we hold for 3 weeks. It was insane. It was impossible. It was the most heroic thing Hansal had ever heard. Yuna came running into the command center. Captain, we have wounded here, children. If you stay and fight, you doom them all. If we leave, the Kravik will kill them anyway, Jiwoo replied. But if we stay, we give you a chance. Even a small chance is better than none. He turned to Hansal. Director, I need your help. We need to turn this station into a fortress. Whatever weapons you have, whatever defenses. We use everything. Hansal looked at his people's faces. Fear, hope, determination. They were scientists and healers, but they could fight if they had to. If someone would show them how. We have mining charges, Hansal said. And industrial lasers. Nothing meant for combat, but we'll make them work, Wu interrupted. Engineer Taemin work with their technical staff. I want mines in a defensive perimeter. I want those lasers modified for maximum range and power. We have 6 hours. Taemin nodded. Yes, sir. Jiwoo looked around the command center. At the Varani who had been ready to die. At his own crew who were ready to die for strangers. 6 hours. Then we show the Kravik what happens when they threaten peaceful people. We show them that the universe has changed. Daehyun spoke up from the doorway, his voice shaking but clear. Captain, I want to help fight. Show me what to do. Wu studied the young Varani for a moment. Then he nodded. Come with me. We'll build you a weapon. As the humans and Varani began preparing for battle, Sujin found Yuna in the medical bay. The doctor was preparing trauma equipment, her hands moving automatically while her mind was somewhere else. They're staying, Yuna whispered. They're going to die for us. Maybe, Sujin said. But humans are hard to kill. We've survived things that should have destroyed us, wars, plagues, our own stupidity. We're stubborn that way. Is that enough? Against 40 ships? Sujin smiled. Ask me in 6 hours. The 6 hours passed like minutes. Daehyun worked alongside human engineers, his hands covered in grease and his mind spinning with new ideas. They had taken a Varani industrial laser and mounted it on a mobile platform, added human targeting computers, connected it to the Indomitable's tactical network. This will work? Daehyun asked, checking the power coupling for the 5th time. Tae-min nodded. It'll work once, maybe twice. Then the power core will overload. After that, you eject and get to safety. And if I can't eject in time? Taemin looked at him seriously. Then you die brave. But let's try for the ejecting option. The weapon platform was crude, cobbled together from parts that were never meant to work together. But it had one advantage. The Kravik wouldn't expect it. They would see the human warship and focus their fire there. A mining laser shooting from an unexpected angle might just surprise them around the station. Human engineers had placed dozens of mining charges in a defensive sphere. Each charge was linked to proximity sensors. Any Kravik ship that got too close would have a very bad day. In the medical bay, Yuna worked with Sujin to set up triage stations. They had combined human and Varani techniques, creating a hybrid system that used the best of both species. Yuna found herself impressed by how quickly the humans learned. They were adaptable, able to change and grow faster than any species she had ever studied. Your people are remarkable, Yuna said, preparing a surgical station. Sujin smiled sadly. We had to be. Evolution on Earth was brutal. Only the species that could adapt survived. Humans almost didn't make it. We nearly went extinct several times before we even invented fire. Fire? Controlled combustion. Basic technology. We had to learn everything the hard way, fighting for every advantage. Yuna thought about her own people. The Varani had evolved on a gentle world with few predators. They had never needed to fight for survival. Not until now. In the command center, Hansal watched the tactical display. The Kravik fleet was 3 hours away now. 42 ships, all of them larger than the Indomitable. The numbers were impossible. Captain Jiwoo stood beside him, calm as still water. Director, I need to ask something of you. Anything, Captain. If this goes badly, if we fall, I need you to transmit everything you've learned about humans. Send it to your government, your military, everyone. Tell them we fought here. Tell them why. Hansal felt cold. You think you'll lose. I think we'll fight, Jiwoo corrected. What happens after that is up to the universe. But if we fall, someone should know we tried. Someone should remember. I'll remember, Captain. All of us will. Wu smiled. Then that's enough. He activated the station-wide communication system. This is Captain Lee Jiwoo of the human warship Indomitable. In 2 hours, the Kravik fleet will arrive. They come to destroy this station and everyone on it. They think they're fighting weak prey. They're wrong. His voice carried through every corridor, every room. Varani and humans alike stopped to listen. Today you'll see what humanity is truly capable of. Not just our weapons, but our will. We don't fight for territory or resources. We fight for what's right. We fight for people who can't fight for themselves. We hold this line together, or we don't hold it at all. Silence followed his words. Then slowly, from deep in the station, someone started banging on metal. A rhythm, other people joined in. The banging spread, becoming a thunder that rang through the hull. A war drum. A heartbeat. Hansal found himself banging on the command console, adding his voice to the sound. Beside him, his crew did the same. All over the station, Varani, who had never fought, were making noise, showing defiance, refusing to go quietly into darkness. The Indomitable's weapons charged. The defensive mines activated. The modified laser platform powered up with Daehyun at the controls. 1 hour, Daehyun ran through simulations on his targeting computer. The human software was incredible, predicting movements and calculating firing solutions faster than he could think. But his hands still shook. He had trained to fix machines, not fight wars. First time? Asked a voice behind him. He turned to see Marine Byung-ho floating there in his combat suit, checking his weapon. Yes, Daehyun admitted. Unterrified. Good, fear keeps you alive. Just remember your training. I don't have training. I'm an engineer. Byung-ho laughed. Then remember your engineering. Trust your machine. It won't let you down. 30 minutes, Yuna stood in the medical bay, looking at the faces of her staff. Some were scared. Some were determined. All of them were ready to do their jobs. Whatever happens, she told them, we save who we can. That's all we can do. That's all anyone can do. Sujin squeezed her shoulder. We're good at saving people. Both our species. Maybe that's why we met. Maybe the universe knew we'd work well together. 10 minutes. The long-range sensors screamed. 42 contacts dropping out of faster than light speed. The Kravik had arrived. They came in formation, a hammer meant to crush. At their center was a massive battleship, twice the size of any other vessel. The new Kravik warlord had brought everything. The communication channel opened. A harsh voice filled the command center. Human vessel. Unknown species? You destroyed our fleet. Now you will die. No mercy, no surrender. Only death. Captain Jiwoo stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, looking at the tactical display. 42 ships. He had fought worse odds before, but not much worse. Tactical target priority? The battleship, sir? It's carrying heavy weapons. Take it out and their coordination will collapse. Weapons free. All stations engage at will. The battle began. The Indomitable fired first, its railguns sending streams of death toward the Kravik fleet. The enemy shields absorbed the hits, but barely. The battleship returned fire. Massive plasma cannons painting space with light. The human warship twisted, dodging with impossible grace. The plasma missed by meters. The Indomitable's drones launched. Spreading out in their deadly web, Daehyun watched his targeting computer track a Kravik cruiser. The ship was moving toward the station, trying to flank the Indomitable. His finger hovered over the firing control. Trust your machine, he whispered to himself. He fired. The industrial laser, boosted to military power, lanced across space. It hit the Kravik cruiser's engines. Not enough to destroy it, but enough to cripple it. The ship spun out of control, crashing into one of the hidden mining charges. The explosion lit up the darkness. Yes! Daehyun shouted. Then his power core alarm started screaming. The weapon was overloading. He had seconds to eject. He slammed the emergency release. The platform blew apart, sending him tumbling through space in his emergency pod. He watched his creation die in a ball of fire and felt pride. The Indomitable carved through the Kravik fleet like a knife. Its main cannon fired again and again, each shot destroying or crippling an enemy ship. But there were too many. Hits got through. Shields weakened. Hull breaches appeared. On the bridge, Jiwoo watched the damage reports climb. They were dying. Slowly but surely. Sir, shields at 40%. Hull breaches on decks 3, 7, and 9. Casualties mounting? Keep fighting, Jiwoo ordered calmly. Make every shot count. The Kravik battleship moved forward, its main weapon charging. A weapon designed to crack planets. Aimed at the Indomitable. Captain, if that hits us, the tactical officer started. I know, Jiwoo interrupted. Helm, prepare for emergency fold. Sir? We can't dodge it. So we don't. We fold space around us, create a dimensional rift. Suck the battleship in. That will destroy our fold drive, sir. We won't be able to escape. I know that too. Do it anyway. The battleship fired. The beam of energy could have destroyed a moon. It crossed the distance in seconds, aimed perfectly at the human warship. The Indomitable folded space. Reality bent. The beam hit the dimensional rift and simply disappeared, sucked into non-space. But the rift kept growing, pulling at everything nearby. The Kravik battleship tried to reverse engines. Too slow. It was drawn into the rift, compressed, crushed. Gone, the rift collapsed. The Indomitable drifted, its fold drive smoking and dead. Status? Jiwoo asked. Fold drive destroyed. Shields at 20%. We're dead in space, sir. The remaining Kravik ships, seeing their battleship destroyed, pressed their attack. 20 ships, all firing at once. This was the end. Then something impossible happened. New contacts appeared on sensors. Many contacts. A fleet arriving from faster than light speed, but not Kravik, Varani warships. A dozen of them, their hulls marked with military designations. They hadn't waited 3 weeks. They had pushed their engines beyond safe limits, racing to answer the call, and behind them, 3 more ships materialized from dimensional folds. Human ships. The Defender. The Vigilant. The Horizon, humanity's 3rd expeditionary fleet, had come. The Kravik fleet didn't stand a chance. The fresh human warships tore into them from one side while the Varani military fleet attacked from the other. The Kravik, already damaged from fighting the Indomitable, found themselves trapped in a kill zone. Some tried to run. Some tried to fight. None of them succeeded. Within 20 minutes it was over. The surviving Kravik ships, only 5 out of 42, jumped to faster than light speed and fled the sector. They would carry a message back to their empire. A warning. The galaxy had changed. Captain Jiwoo sat in his damaged command chair, breathing hard. His ship was barely holding together. 3 of his crew were dead. 17 more wounded, but they had held. They had survived. Captain, his communication officer said, the Varani flagship is hailing us, and the Defender wants to speak with you. Put them both through. 2 faces appeared on the screen. One was a Varani admiral, old and proud, with wisdom in his eyes. The other was a human captain named Hae-won, younger than Jiwoo, with fire in her expression. Captain Jiwoo, Admiral Tae-sung said. We received word of the attack and came as fast as we could. But it seems you had the situation under control. Laughed, though it hurt to do so. Barely, Admiral. Another few minutes, and you would have found debris? Captain Hae-won smiled. But you held, Captain. You held the line with honor. The whole 3rd Fleet is talking about it. 1 ship against 42. 1 ship and 800 very brave Varani, Jiwoo corrected. They fought too. On Talvara Station, Hansal watched the aftermath with tears in his eyes. They had survived. Against all odds, they had survived? He activated the station-wide communication. This is Director Hansal. The battle is over. We won. We're safe. The sound that came back was somewhere between laughter and crying, relief, joy, disbelief. In the medical bay, Yuna hugged Sujin hard. The human doctor hugged her back, both of them exhausted and grateful. Your people saved us twice, Yuna whispered. Your people were worth saving, Sujin replied. Daehyun's emergency pod was recovered by a Varani rescue ship. He was bruised and shaken but alive. When they opened the pod, he was grinning like a madman. Did you see that shot? He asked everyone who would listen. Did you see what I did? Over the next days, repairs began. Human engineers worked alongside Varani technicians. The damage was extensive but not fatal. The station would survive. More importantly, the people would survive. Ji Woo met with Hansal and Admiral Tae Sung in person on the station. They sat in what remained of the observation lounge, looking out at the stars. This changes everything, Admiral Tae Sung said. Our people have lived in peace for thousands of cycles. We never imagined we'd need warriors. But the galaxy is more dangerous than we knew. You have warriors now, Vu said. Young Dae-Hyun proved that. Give your people the tools and training and they'll fight when they need to. Hansal shook his head. We don't want to become warriors, Captain. We're scientists, healers, that's who we are. Then stay that way, Vu replied. But let us stand beside you. Let us be the sword when you need one. That's what humanity can offer, protection, partnership. An alliance? Admiral Taeson asked. More than that. A coalition. Humans and Varani together, and any other species that wants to join. We protect each other. We share knowledge. We stand together against empires like the Kravik. The idea hung in the air, revolutionary, dangerous, necessary. The Galactic Council will resist this, Admiral Tae-Sung said. They prefer the old ways. Each species for themselves. Then we start without them, Vu said. We show them a better way. Over the following weeks, the proposal took shape. The coalition of free worlds. Not an empire. Not a federation. Something new. Species joining together by choice, keeping their independence but agreeing to mutual defense and cooperation. The humans provided military technology and training. The Varani provided medical advances and scientific research. Together they were stronger than either species alone. News of the battle spread across the galaxy. The story of one human warship holding off 42 Kravik vessels became legend. But more importantly, the story of humans answering a desperate call, fighting for strangers, sacrificing for those who couldn't defend themselves. Other species began to listen. 3 months after the battle, Yuna stood in the new joint Human-Varani Medical Institute. It was built on Talvera Station, right where the old medical bay had been. A symbol? A reminder. Sujin worked beside her, teaching Varani doctors human surgical techniques while learning Varani regeneration methods. The combination was powerful. Lives that would have been lost could now be saved. Do you ever wonder, Yuna asked, why the universe brought us together? Your species and mine? Sujin smiled. I think maybe we needed each other. You needed someone who could fight. We needed someone who could remind us what we're fighting for. In the engineering section, Dae-Hyun was already working on the next generation of defensive systems. He had been offered a position in the human fleet, but he chose to stay on Talvera. This was his home. These were his people. But now his people included humans too. Taemin visited often, bringing new designs and ideas. The young Varani was becoming one of the coalition's best defensive engineers. Not weapons for war, but shields for protection. Tools to save rather than destroy. Admiral Taesung became the first leader of the Coalition of Free Worlds. Captain Haewon was named the military commander. But Captain Jiwoo, the man who had started it all, declined any official position. I'm just a ship captain, he told them. I go where I'm needed. I help when I can. That's enough. The Indomitable was repaired, upgraded with a new full drive and improved shields. Before leaving Talvera Station, Jiwoo walked through the corridors one last time. The station had been rebuilt, made stronger than before, but the scars remained. Reminders of what had almost been lost. He found Hansal in the observation lounge, the same place where they had first truly talked. Leaving? Hansal asked. We have other places to explore. Other calls to answer. Will you come back? Always. Your family now. They stood together in silence, watching the stars. The same stars that had witnessed the battle. The same stars that would carry the story forward. Captain, Hansal said quietly, you changed my people. We were content to study the universe, to observe from a distance. You showed us that sometimes you have to stand and fight, that knowledge without courage is hollow. And you changed us, Wu replied. We came to the stars expecting enemies. We found friends instead. You reminded us why we fight. Not for conquest, but for protection. Not for power, but for others. Do you think it will last? This coalition? Jiwoo smiled. I think it's just beginning. Word is spreading. Species that were threatened, that were prey to empires like the Kravik, they're reaching out. They want to join. They want to stand together. And the Kravik? They're learning that the galaxy has rules now. Attack peaceful people, and you answer to us. All of us. 6 months after the battle, the coalition of free worlds had grown to 12 species. Each brought something unique. Together they were building something the galaxy had never seen. Not an empire of conquest, but a community of protection, the Kravik Dominion, once expanding freely, found its borders suddenly fixed. Every time they tried to attack a weak species, coalition ships appeared. Every time they demanded submission, they got defiance instead. The galaxy was learning a new phrase. 3 words in a human language, translated into dozens of other tongues. Help has arrived. It became a promise. A guarantee. Any species, anywhere, could call for help. And someone would answer. On Earth, billions of humans watched the broadcasts from the Coalition's formation ceremony. They saw their ships standing beside vessels from a dozen other species. They saw Captain Jiwoo honored by the Varani, given their highest award for saving lives. Most importantly, they saw what humanity could be. Not conquerors or dominators, but protectors and friends. The best of what they had always hoped to become, Talvera Station became the Coalition's headquarters. The place where it all started. The place where one human warship had materialized from the void and changed everything. In the station's archives. Carefully preserved was the original distress call. Director Hansal's voice asking for help that he never expected to receive. Please, the recording said, don't let them be forgotten. They weren't forgotten. None of them were. The 847 people on Talvera Station. The crew of the Indomitable. The Varani and human soldiers who fought together, their story spread across the stars. A reminder that in the darkness of space, someone might be listening. Someone might come. Help might arrive when it's least expected, and somewhere in the void, the human warship Indomitable traveled to its next destination. Its sensors sweeping, its weapons ready, its crew prepared to answer the next call, because that's what humanity did now. They answered calls. They protected the weak. They stood between predators and prey. They made sure that no one who cried for help would ever face the darkness alone. Admiral Taesung once asked Captain Zhu why humans were so driven to help others. To risk so much for strangers. Gu's answer was simple. Because we remember what it was like when no one helped us. When we faced extinction alone, we remember crying into the void with no answer. We swore that if we survived,